Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the words of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch in the blessings over wine, and we are focusing right now on the bracha that is called Hatayv HaMeitiv, which we say on an additional bottle of wine. Says the Kitzur, V'im hayanimlach mamish ba'ofen shetzarich levarach shenis b'rei hagafen. A person had in mind to drink only one type of wine. So they said Borei Pri Hagafen on that wine, and they didn't have in mind to drink any other bottles of wine that are going to come to the table. And then somebody brings them a new bottle of wine. And so they changed their mind now and they said, you know what, I'd like to drink from that wine as well. In that case, the original bracha of Borei Pri Hagafen doesn't cover that bottle of wine, the second one, and therefore you'd have to make a new bracha of Borei Pri Hagafen on the second glass that you never intended to drink. However, you also have to say a Hatayv HaMeitiv. So which bracha do you say first? Says the Kitzur, Mevarech Techila Hatayv HaMeitiv. First you make the bracha of Hatayv HaMeitiv, which we said means Hatayv, the one that is Hatayv, he is good, Umeitiv, and he bestows good. And then V'achar Kach Borei Pri Hagafen, and then you would make the blessing afterwards on the Gafen in order that it should be closest to when you're going to drink this new glass from the second bottle of wine. One halacha. Secondly, when do we say that you say the bracha Hatayv HaMeitiv? That is when the quality of the second wine is undetermined, which means she'eno yidua she'asheni garua min harishon, as long as you don't know that the second bottle of wine is inferior to the first. Hatayv HaMeitiv means Hashem is good and He bestows good, which means this second bottle of wine has to be at least as good as the first one. And in many instances, we certainly make it when the second bottle is better than the first one. Even if you don't know that the second one is better than the first one, it's good enough that it's at least on the same level, and you'll make Hatayv HaMeitiv. But if you know that the second bottle is inferior to the first, then Ein Mevarchin Alav, you cannot make a bracha of Hatayv HaMeitiv, because what's good and he does good, it's worse than the first one. However, if the second bottle is more beneficial for one's health, it's a healthier type of a wine. How you'll know that, you'll have to know. They bring down in the Mishnah Berurah brings down that white coming after red. White apparently is assumed to be healthier than red wine. But if you know that red wine is healthier than the white wine, so on and so forth, then Avabishu Garua Betam, even if the second one doesn't taste as good as the first one, nevertheless, Mevarchem Alav Hatayv HaMeitiv, still you're going to make the bracha of Hatayv HaMeitiv, because since it increases your health, so that makes it something that is good and better than the first one. Now, one point that has to be mentioned over here is what the Mishnah Berurah himself spends quite a bit of time discussing, and that is that in order to make the bracha of Hatayv HaMeitiv, it should be that you're not really aware that there's a second bottle of wine that's coming your way. Otherwise, you would have had it in mind when you made the original bracha of Borei Pri Hagafen. So, therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, number one, the second bottle of wine should not be on the table when you make your bracha on the first bottle of wine. And even better, it's that it shouldn't even be around at all. You shouldn't even be aware that there's a second bottle of wine, in order that when you now want to make the Hatayv HaMeitiv, your total lack of awareness makes it that you are now excited that there's a new bottle of wine that is Hatayv HaMeitiv, that is good, and Hashem bestows good. And therefore the Mishnah Berurah writes in one place that if the bottle of wine was in the house while you were making Kiddush, and you were aware that it was in the house while you were making Kiddush, or making a bracha on the first bottle of wine, there is no way that you could really make the bracha of Hatayv HaMeitiv, because you already knew about it, and it was covered by your initial bracha of Borei Pri Hagafen. So it gets a little bit tricky in the halachas of Hatayv HaMeitiv. if the best scenario would be when there was a bottle of wine that you were not aware of at all in your house, and somebody now brought it to you in the middle of your drinking session or the middle of your meal after you made kiddush already, and since you didn't have this in mind at the time of the bracha, therefore you're able to say hatoiv v'hametiv. Wishing everybody a wonderful Shabbos. Perhaps you'll merit to be able to fulfill the halachas that we're learning these days, that on Friday night or Shabbos day somebody will bring you a bottle after you already made the bracha of Hagafen, and now it will be a real Toiv HaMeitiv, as it says according to halacha. All the best.